Flags have been around for centuries to symbolize all sorts of ideas, beliefs, and of course, countries. While these have been essential to distinguish which team you're on and to show your pride, most of these designs are just kind of boring. Like, you're seriously telling me that all these places of such deep history and culture are being represented by 2 colors on a rectangle? Oh, these ones are 3 colors? That's so much better. Most of the time, these colors represent a specific trait of that country, but come on, we have all this space to do literally whatever we want. So welcome back to Fix the World. With your suggestions from last time, we're gonna redesign all these flags to be a bit more interesting, whatever that means. But you know what else is interesting? Family history, which you can conveniently learn all about with today's sponsor, MyHeritage. MyHeritage is the #1 family history service trusted by 90 million users to show you your family tree and so much more. After you sign up, you get access to over 19 billion historical documents, and it makes it super easy for you to build up your family tree and find your relatives. Mine has filled out so much automatically with these instant discoveries, and it's grown even more the longer I've been on it. And these aren't just names in the occasional photo. You get all kinds of details from these historical records that help you understand what each of your ancestors was actually like. Here's my great-great-great-grandpa Peter Fetzer from Germany. I can see right where he was living and his 12 siblings and kids. But my favorite part was looking into all his photos and tracing it back to Casper, my great-great-grandpa, then to John, my great-grandpa. When I was a little kid, I knew him as much as a 3-year-old can, but seeing all these old pictures of him and his family have helped me connect with him so much more. MyHeritage has these photo colorize and enhance tools that were honestly kind of nuts. The way it changed the first picture I tried was actual magic. Like, look at that. Seeing all these people like this just makes them feel that much more real. They also do DNA tests to see what parts of the world you're made up from. This is just the ideal place to find out more about your ancestors and family. So start building your family tree today. You can sign up for a 14-day free trial of MyHeritage at the link in the description, or scan the QR code on the screen. It's really interesting stuff, so go check it out. Anyway, let's kick it off with the United Kingdom. Now, if you're anything like me, meaning not from the UK, you probably have no idea what it actually means. I knew that there was a difference between Great Britain and the UK, but I didn't totally know what it was until I researched for this video. So to start, we got the islands called the British Isles that look like this, and these 2 are split into Great Britain and Ireland. But within the 2 islands, they're split into 5 mini countries. Each of the 5 has its own flag, except for Northern Ireland, kinda. The United Kingdom is the combination of all of these, except for the Republic of Ireland. Shout out to the United Kingdom subscribers that already knew all this. But anyway, just to spice things up a little, I'm gonna give this video a bonus feature. That being a tier list. So real quick, let's just drop in all those flags we're talking about. Now, if you look closely, you can actually see where they got the UK flag from. It's a combination of the English flag, the Scottish flag, and St. Patrick's Cross, which I guess was used to represent Ireland. And honestly, I think that does make it turn out pretty nice. We'll go A tier, but the others on their own aren't super cool. We'll just go with a solid C tier. Other than the flag for Wales, which is debatably one of the coolest of all time. Like, look at that dragon, dude. That is so sick. Easy S tier. Now, with this, you might be wondering, why is the UK including all these other countries except for Wales in the flag? Debatably the coolest looking one. This has been a serious topic for a lot of people for a long time. There's even been a few proposed flags that include elements of Wales in them, but I guess the UK is a little too stubborn about keeping their Union Jack. But of course, today, I make the rules, so we're adding a dragon. So let's start by just dropping him in here. Take out the background. Now, this design with the dragon just chilling in the middle isn't too bad, but I don't love how small it is compared to the Wales flag where it's the center point. I mean, I guess this literally is the center point, but you get what I mean. So we'll keep this guy big, but before we do that, I have another point to make. Some of you guys pointed out that the national animal of Scotland is the unicorn? Like, what? This is the perfect opportunity to make the most mythical flag ever by including a dragon and a unicorn on the same flag. Now, originally my plan was to design a unicorn that looked a very similar style to the original dragon. And not to be a crybaby or anything, but you might have noticed something a little different about me today. I broke my arm, man. It's so sad. I wasn't even doing anything cool. I was just longboarding at a really low speed, honestly. Then there was a stick in the path. That's all it takes. So because of that, you guys get to see a little bit more of a simple design today. I need a unicorn that's not standing up like that. I want it to be more on all fours like the dragon is. We want it to look as similar as possible. Now we're gonna make the background of the flag totally blue to start. We'll get these guys onto there. Then there's actually a third symbol I want to add into here. I was kind of saying that there wasn't really a flag for Northern Ireland, but that's not entirely true. At least according to what I've seen, a lot of Northern Islanders use this flag, especially in sports and such. And that has a centerpiece of a red hand, which of course would fit with our red theme very, very well. Apparently the lore behind it is really weird. I found a few conflicting stories about it, but probably the most famous story is about the province of Ulster. There's this legend that the first man to lay their hand on the province of Ulster would claim ownership to it. So obviously all these people were rushing to get to the land first, but one warrior decided to outsmart the rest by chopping off his own hand and throwing it onto the land so that he would touch it first. Kinda crazy. Therefore giving us the floating hand and it being red because of the blood. He just like me for real. So I think we should try to line up all these symbols like so. And we'll get our own white cross to show these off a little better. And by not leaving too much white space, it almost looks like we recreated the red cross with these shapes. This already does represent all four of the different countries, sections, whatever, with I guess an optional added touch of adding the diagonal crosses back. And yeah, there you go. I know that's not a super typical flag design because it's obviously way more complicated, but if you ask me, I think that's how they should be. Where else would it go but S tier? Awesome, moving on to the new world, we've got Mexico. This is a great example of a flag being a little more complicated, but the design is so small that it kind of just blurs together into a weird mess, and you can't just get rid of it or it turns into Italy. But if you zoom in and actually take a closer look, this design is actually so sick. The design is just a little too small, so I'm gonna bump it down to A, but it's definitely better than this one. Let's put that to B. Shout out to my Mexican subscribers. Now this picture is depicting the legend of Tenochtitlan, which was the capital of the Aztec Empire / early Mexico. The story goes that the early Mexica people were told by their god to build a city once they could find a spot where an eagle was standing on a cactus devouring a snake on an island in the middle of a lake. The imagery of that is kind of sick, and I understand completely why they would want to put that on their flag. So you can guess where this is gonna go, but essentially I just want this picture to be way more of a focal point. Now I'm actually gonna take out this little string of leaves. I was thinking about putting this guy all the way to the left and then having those leaves on the right side of him, but I think we just keep things nice and simple. Let's get a circle around this whole picture, and to each side we'll just do the original colors. Now while I do like this design a bit, it doesn't look super flag-like even compared to my original UK one. So I'm thinking we actually trace over each one of these main shapes and turn them into solid colors. Again, my original idea was to be a bit more complicated and redesign this whole thing, but due to circumstances, we're just gonna work with what we got. Now, this whole idea of fixing flags is definitely not original. This has most famously been done by Jack's films, but unlike his video, all of these are gonna be completely serious with no jokes. Oh no, there's such an easier way to do this. Big rough outline like so, except for where it intercepts, like right here. Then we can zoom back out, keep going with the rough outline. Just like that, we right click, make selection. Then we can erase everything else in the picture. Actually, we wanna get the island. Let me do that real quick. And we can brush away the rest. Now we can add a color overlay. We'll make it the same red. Then on a layer below it, we can add another color overlay and make that one green. The details on the snake look like a little too much. I'm gonna get rid of those. I'm recording sitting down today, which isn't normal. Let me know if you have an opinion on that, I guess. Then yeah, I think we get rid of that water design, whatever it was, just to make it a little cleaner. We'll just make the cactus kind of go into the bottom. I think that is a little more clean. It's just kind of goofy with the stem of the cactus. The third option, which would be even more controversial, is just taking out the cactus altogether. You know, I have a compromise. Let's just get a smaller looking cactus right on the bottom, just a little thing for him to grab onto. Let's make sure it fits within the circle. Yeah, okay. I think that looks pretty solid. In a way, it's more and less complicated to the original. There you go. New Mexico flag, or not. New Mexico. Updated Mexico flag, obviously S tier. I have a feeling there's gonna be a few more S tiers, so let's move this to the side. I might like it better than this one, honestly. Let's put it there. And of course, this finally looks different enough from our next flag, Italy. This is just another one of the tricolor flags, which was popularized by France. We'll get into that a little more later. This red looks a little nicer than the orange, and I like the aspect ratio a little more, but we gotta keep it in C tier. It's basically the same thing. Shout out to my Italian subscribers. Anyway, you guys were telling me to just simplify the Italian flag into a pizza. We can't just be stereotyping the entire Italian people like that. Come on. So I'm thinking we just get a collection of all the types of pasta from Italy and make them into stripes. Holy cow, there are a lot of kinds of pasta. You know, I don't want to make this too complicated. I'm just gonna simplify it to 3 pasta shapes. First, a straight line. That could represent spaghetti or any of these ones that just are straight lines. Even penne, that's a loop but looks like a rectangle from the side. Then we'll do a bumpy rectangle to represent fusilli or whatever other spirally ones there are. And we'll do a final line that represents macaroni back and forth. Oh man, this is so dumb. How about this? We get rid of the middle one and we'll just fill it in like this. Oh, it's just so bad. Oh no. Okay, I gotta move on. Italy, I'm sorry. I ruined your flag. It wasn't on purpose. Okay, moving down south a little, we got Chile. Shout out to my Chilean subscribers. I like the effort of having a little more detail with the star section. We'll put it in B tier. I think I like the Scotland flag a little more too. That can go in B as well. You know, especially among fellow Americans, the Chilean flag is often mixed up with the Texan flag. Very, very similar. And honestly, I kind of like the Texas one a little more. But the Chile flag was made earlier, so I gotta give it bonus points. I'm not gonna switch the Texas flag because we're focused on countries for this episode. But as I was thinking of what to do with Chile, the only thing that came to mind is how thin it is. It looks like you could just grab Chile and whack someone with it, you know? Anyway, with such a thin country, we gotta make it a really thin flag. Not horizontally, vertically. So let's just shrink down our star section like so. And we'll just get the 2 colors going down the middle. Like imagine that being on a flag post, but it's like taking up the entire flag post. Like there's no raising or lowering the flag because it's already taking up the whole thing. That right there is an easy S tier. There you go. Then let's move on to an Asian representative, China. This one's okay, it's keeping with the star theme, but I don't know, it's kind of just laid out in a strange way, and it's mainly just red. We'll go like high C tier, and to balance it out, we'll put Ireland in D. It's honestly pretty bad. I don't think YouTube's allowed in China, so big shout out to my Chinese subscribers. Way to go through the extra effort. Anyway, looking at the past flags of China, we got the flag of the
Qing Dynasty.
Look at how sick this is. Again, dragons on flags are just OP. Specifically, I do really like this triangle version. Literally every single country flag is a rectangle, other than Nepal. Shout out to my Nepali viewers. And honestly, I think we should get more weirdly shaped flags. Now, dragons have been part of China's history for like thousands of years, which is sick, but we want to represent something a little more modern, and we want something that's completely unique to China. Let's just do the Great Wall. That was built relatively recently, right? Then I'm actually gonna take the dragon from the square flag because it's got the tail rising up at the end. And let's take the dragon's ball out of here. Then to fit this curve of the dragon better, I'm gonna move the wall over a little bit, but we don't wanna cut this tower off, so maybe we'll extend this a little more. Then let's bring back our yellow triangle real quick. And to replace that circle, maybe we'll add a star back into here. And just to prove a point, that will be the shape of the flag. Nepal has been officially outshaped. There you go, new Chinese flag, S tier, easy. Next up, we got the previously mentioned France. This, of course, is the most iconic tricolor of all the flags, but it wasn't the first. Apparently, when the revolutionaries needed to come up with their own flag, they looked at the flag for the Netherlands and they were like, oh, that's cool. So they took it, rotated it, and that's it. They're little copycats like Texas, but I can't lie, it does look pretty clean. Shout out to my French subscribers, by the way. And even though France copied the Netherlands, I think they pulled it off better. I honestly like the vertical lines better than the horizontal, and because of the idea of revolution and standing up against people, this flag ended up influencing so many future flags that I think it's got the right to stay how it is. So instead, we're gonna change the Netherlands flag. Shout out to my Dutch subscribers, by the way. I'm gonna do something so unforgivable. You know exactly where this is going. We're just dropping in the nether portal from Minecraft. It's vertical, same dimensions and everything. There you go. I don't know if I can let myself put S tier on that. We'll go to A. Anyway, next up, let's move on to Iceland. Now, we're aware of the tricolor trend in a lot of these flags, but Iceland is guilty of two different trends, those being red, white, and blue, and the Nordic cross. There are only two countries that don't have red, white, or blue in their flags, those being Jamaica and I guess just Jamaica now. And the Nordic cross obviously has religious significance, and it's present in a bunch of these European countries. Anyway, despite all that, I actually do like this design quite a bit. Something about the exact tones of the red and blue just seem really nice to me. Maybe controversial, but I'm going A tier on that. But of course, we're here to change things up, so let's start something new. Now, I've never been, but Iceland is known to be one of the most beautiful places on the planet, with a crazy mix of the hots and colds and water and land and sky. So let's try to represent that as much as we can in this flag. To start, I'm gonna do some kind of waviness on the top to represent the northern lights, which just seems so sick, man. Like, I gotta see those someday. We'll make that a nice greenish blue. Then we're gonna represent the hot and cold with both volcanoes and glaciers, just being triangles on both sides. One will be this red, the other will be the blue. Okay, so imagine this is still the glacier, it's just going up into those northern lights. And same with our volcano. And this white part in the middle is like a waterfall, which is also a key part of Iceland. And I think that's pretty good, but I don't know if that wavy stuff is doing it for me. Maybe we just get rid of that. And it kind of bothers me that these lines aren't straight. Yeah, something like that. A nice clean 3-color design. I don't think that's been used before. S tier. Then while we're at it, let's do Iceland's counterpart, Greenland. This one's pretty clean, I like it. Maybe like a decent B tier. Now, clearly the option should be to just make this green, being Greenland, but that obviously just looks so bad. We're not doing that. And I'm not just gonna replace the red with green either. You might have heard the story that when the Vikings discovered both of these lands, they decided to swap the names so that people would go to the wrong one. With Iceland again being super beautiful and green, and Greenland being basically just made out of ice. Apparently that's not entirely true. Iceland was already just called that anyway, but Greenland was named to deceive people. Eric the Red named it that so that people would come over and build a community with him. I'm a fan of the trickery. Let's just keep running with that. Let's just start with a super pretty picture of Iceland. Then I think it would be funny to format this like a top 10 list. Like, let's just get some text up here saying top 10 places to live. Number 1, Greenland. You know where this is going, right above Iceland. Shout out to my Icelander and Greenlander subscribers. Now let's go on down under to New Zealand. Not gonna lie, this flag is offensively bad. Probably the worst trend in flags is when the British just took over everything and kept putting the Union Jack in the corner. Shout out to my New Zealander subscribers, but this does not look pretty, I'm sorry. Still looks better than Italy though, E tier. Now apparently there was a vote as late as 2015 held to determine the nation's flag. This one obviously won, but some of the candidates were pretty solid. I'm liking all these leaf designs, but this one's kind of crazy too. Anyway, all of these are okay, but one of them stood out. One that was by far the most unique and different and creative. Of course, I'm talking about the laser kiwi flag. This was an actual design submitted by a former political party candidate, Lucy Gray, in Microsoft Paint. Had this won, it would have easily been the best country flag, but apparently it wasn't serious enough. Whatever. Anyway, obviously in this modern era, the internet has loved this design. So we'll start with this as the base. We'll keep running with it. Let's see what happens. The easiest addition is probably just an explosion. I'm thinking the kiwi should also be realistic. This flag was designed to represent the deadly animals in New Zealand, which there definitely are a few of. Lucy Gray decided to design this when she saw the first row of candidates for the flag. They were uninspiring. They had no meaning behind them, unlike her design she came to make with a laser kiwi. Like, come on, it's so sick. I mean, to take inspiration from our Greenland flag, I think we just need some sweet looking text that says New Zealand. I might go with papyrus, not gonna lie. That would just be so crazy as a real flag. That's gotta go at the top. Yeah, you know, I think that'll do. New Zealand, there you go. And let's move on to our final flag for today. Of course, it's the United States of America. This flag has gone through a ridiculous amount of redesigns, all because of their philosophy of how they designed it, with the 13 stripes being the 13 original colonies and each star being one of the states. And they obviously started with 13, so they had to keep adding a star and redesigning the flag every single time they added a new state, ending up at 50 where we're at today. That's such a messy way of going about things, but honestly, I do kind of like the final result here. It's obviously super iconic, even outside of the US. I'm straight up putting it at the top of A tier. Shout out to my American viewers, there's a lot of you guys. Now, if you guys have been following the channel for a while, you'll know that I actually already did redesign the US flag, of course in the United States 2 video. And not gonna lie, I think I kind of nailed it. It's kind of sick. I don't know, maybe it's not as cool as I remember. I'm still putting it above the original though, for sure. Anyway, it's been like 2 years since I fixed the US, and they still haven't used this flag. So to help them out, I'll add another option for them to choose from. Then surely the next president will end up using it, whoever that's gonna be. Now, obviously a lot of things describe America, but one stood out for me, that being American football, probably because I already did a whole video on it. But as that thought kept going, I realized that Americans really do care a lot about sports. And taking a look at all the main sport organizations in America, they all kind of follow this same sort of theme. So you might know where I'm gonna go with this. Let's get our red rectangle and our blue rectangle. And we can't just have any old guy in the middle. We're of course doing the national animal, the bald eagle. Oh, this is so silly. I'm gonna get rid of that whole banner thing and let's overlay it with white. You might notice there's a little middle section that's kind of awkward. You don't want to show that split in this kind of logo. Hey, it's about time we add another color, right? What do you get when you mix red and blue? Purple. There you go. American flag version 3. I'm still not putting that in S tier. We'll do this. Anyway, there we go. We did a solid amount of flags, and I didn't even get to do all of them that I had planned. But at least for this episode, one of these two has got to be my favorite, even if they're not objectively the best. Here's me putting that on the globe. I mainly put the past ones on the oceans for a moment like this. Let me know if you guys want to see another one of these. But anyway, for next episode, let's make some better app icons. Like country flags, they're way too simple. Let me know how you would spice them up a little. I see those comments easier if you're a channel member. Thank you guys for the support. And thanks again to MyHeritage for sponsoring this video. It's seriously really cool. Go check it out. And we're trying to hit 300, so subscribe.